I love to talk, film, discuss, critique.
What is up, folks? Welcome back to Blood Splatter Chatter here on a Thursday night, 8 o'clock Central Time. Despite what that intro says, we'll update it. We'll update it soon. But I'm here stoked to be talking about 28 years later, finally, with my brother, the missing link. Nailed it. Perfect. And Stu from Dr. Doom's fan club.
What is up, bro?
I love it.
So glad to be here with y'all.
That was so fucking perfect, man. I'm so stoked to be back. First of all, thank you guys. Thank you guys that are showing up right now, that are in the chat. So happy to be back on Thursday. We did a little experiment. We were in the afternoon for a little bit, but we're back. We're back, and hopefully this is where we'll stay for now, at least. But so excited to be talking to you guys about this movie, 28 years later, written by Alex Garland, directed by Danny Boyle, the third in this franchise and the first in a trilogy, which I'm also super excited about. And basically, I looked into like how this came across. Supposedly, they wanted to do this like starting in 2008. Like after 28 weeks later came back, they had a loose idea and they wanted to come back and team up together again. And it just never got off the ground until like 2023 when they started to put this together. So the plan is what they're doing. They film this, and then right afterwards, they film the sequel, which is 28 years later, the Bone Temple. Is that what it is?
Yep.
The Bone Temple, which is directed by Nia DaCosta. She did Candyman. She did The Marvels, which I didn't love. The Marvels. I didn't love Candyman, but the direction in Candyman was fire. And anybody that can handle a big MCU project, you know what I mean? If they have faith in her, I'm sure she's solid.
I just found out, like, I give props to her because she's relatively young. Like, she's like 34, 35,
right?
You know, and
for sure. Well, I guess what they did, like I said, they filmed that right afterwards, and Spike's story continues. So the kid from this one is in the next one, and there's a section of that movie that has Cillian Murphy in it. So he's like reintroduced into the story, and it's going to focus heavily, and we'll get into all this stuff at the end, but it focuses heavily on the Jimmy Gang, or whatever they're calling them out there, the tracksuit mafia with blonde hair. It focuses heavily on them. Cillian Murphy is a part of that. And then the third one is like the culmination of Spike's coming of age story and like wrapping up Cillian Murphy's story. And he's going to kind of be the focus of the third one, which I can't fucking wait for. So I went to the theater and saw this, and I enjoyed it when I first saw it. Into the movie the entire time, thought it was absolutely gorgeous, digging it. And then at the end of it, I was like, oh, I don't know. There was something about the way that it ended that I was like, oh, okay. That's the movie. All right. And then I watched it again yesterday, and I kind of fucking fell in love with it. Like, I loved it.
Yeah.
Like, going into it, knowing what it was and knowing like it is different. Like, I know I haven't seen too much of what people are like the discourse online is. I know it's divisive. I know some people have an issue with kind of the tone shift. Not just the tone shift at the end, which we'll get to, the tonal whiplash that you get at the end with the Power Rangers bit, but just like this is a way more fantastical and like less grounded movie than 28 Days Later. It's a little bit closer to what 28 Weeks Later was, but regardless, like you can tell right off, like the filmmaking in the movie is phenomenal. I have some issues with the story. I don't think it's the tightest writing that I've ever seen in a movie, but I think it's really fucking good writing. But there's some issues with that. The filmmaking, the way it looks, and just like the editing and all that is so top notch. So what up, Two Gun? What up, Sal? What up, guys in the chat? Appreciate you being here. You guys, let me know your thoughts on how you felt about it. If you've seen it, happy Thursday, Sal says. So my brother Link, I know 28 Days Later being, as I've said many times, one of your favorite movies, your favorite horror movie of all time.
Yeah.
What did you think? You've seen it probably a couple times at this point. What'd you think, bro?
Seen it 5 times. What's today? Since Sunday.
Let me just say, I would totally be down. Like, this is the movie that's came out so far this year. I won't say that it's my favorite horror movie of the year, though it might be, but it's the one I'm most excited about to own on physical.
Yeah.
Rewatch. Like, over Sinners, I'll buy Sinners and I'll rewatch it. And I thought it was great. That Ugly Stepsister I loved, but I'm not like, probably won't even buy that. This is the one that I'm like dying to buy, see the special features. And
Dude, the special features, like how they put some of this together. Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, it's going to be crazy.
But what'd you think, bro?
I hate to be a mark, but I loved it, man. You know, I even first watch, like it wasn't what I was expecting, you know, like you said, it did get more fantastic or lean more towards like tropes and become more of a horror movie. You know, they're actually and you know, in the past it was debatable is that whole, even though I knew they were zombies, but it was like they're not really zombies, you know.
Right.
But now they're zombies, you know. They've evolved to zombies. But I loved it. I thought that it's in a sense the way that I told you guys this earlier in the week, the way they put their stamp on 28 Days Later with running zombies.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they are putting their stamp on a trope that we've seen littered in a few different movies throughout the years. But
Big zombies?
What?
Giant dick zombies?
Those two. That's definitely going to be a thing. You know what came to mind every time I saw Samson, bro, was like Deuce Bigelow, where it's like, that's a huge bitch, you know. Every time he's on screen, he's like, that's a huge dick, you know. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to put their stamp on, like, I think we will see more zombie projects in the future where it's not going to be zombies just brain dead, kind of roaming about. And I think they're going to have some intelligence to them. You know, we're going to see more projects where zombies have evolved. That's going to be kind of like a staple. They're no longer going to just be these. We will see classic zombies, but I think we're going to move past that. But just beautiful filmmaking. I'm at a loss for words. It's just, Danny Boyle is like a very inspiring, him and Garland together, a very inspiring team. Like the way they put this together, like it's very guerrilla filmmaking, just like with the first one. It looks better, feels more theatrical, but the way they made both films is still there. Like with the angle switching, with the 3D shots, like that's where I think like those harnesses we kept seeing around the zombies.
Yeah.
I'm still intrigued how they did that, because it's like we're seeing like these shots from different angles, but they're not actually getting shot. So it's like, how do you blend or amalgamate that together to look so clean? You know, like that's right. So I would love to see the extra features on there. But by the way, this is how you do kid actors, all right? Let's look at the evolution of kid actors in the 28 franchise. Hannah, she sucked. That's the only bad part of 28 Days Later was Hannah, bro. She never did anything after that. That's how bad she was. All right. Leveled up a little bit with the kids in 28 Weeks. They're a little annoying, especially the brother. You know, they're kind of, you know, they did stupid kid shit. Here we have with Alfie, you know, Spike in the movie, we have a kid that knows how to act, and he's got his wits about him. He's questioning things in a sensible manner. Like it's like, he would question that. Like if he sees something, it never felt like, oh, let's just go do this because we're kids.
Right.
Suffered from that a little bit, but
I
don't know. I just thought it was it's gotten to the point where I feel like people who don't like this movie or like they don't understand. And I hate to be that guy, the gatekeeper, but I feel like they aren't on that level. You know, they watch some reality television. That's where you're probably best at. But no, I just think it's brilliant. I think it's not 28 days, but it's far above 28 weeks.
I would agree, and I really like 28 Weeks. We just did the rewatch and a review recently. I'm looking now because, like I said, I haven't heard too much. I looked at a few like YouTube thumbnails of some like big YouTubers that were reviewing it, and just from the thumbnails, it was all like, okay, like stuff like that. And then I'm looking now, 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, obviously quite respectable. 7.2 on IMDb, very respectable, and a 71% Google user rating, which that it doesn't shock me because
You know,
I don't know. I mean, I
28
think it does kind of shock me because it is really solid. But I wonder if it's just a lot of people going in and wanting the more grounded movie, or just like, I don't know. I was about to say more zombies, but we get a lot of fucking zombies. So I don't know what are you guys hearing online? Like, what's the big issue?
I'm not
it's
sure.
mostly,
I honestly
it's
don't
like,
know.
I've heard it's like minor shit that people really have no backing against, which makes me think they're just regurgitating shit they've seen other people say. It's like
Right.
Power Ranger scene, or I didn't like the tonal shift. Or they're really weak argument points. That's what I'm saying. I feel like they got shit taste at the end of the day, or like they just started watching like television and film in the last year or something.
What Stu, my brother from another. What'd you think, man?
Dude, I thought it was brilliant. I think the way they found a way to express not only a new message but do new things cinematically, I thought was gorgeous. And it's just such a brilliant third leg in this series because it does pay homage to everything that came before it, but it also does something completely new, and it also manages to remain topical. Like some of the messages and the things they're saying in this movie, are very dope, and I think like very like topical, but also like timeless, and
Right.
That might be part of like the issue that people have with it. The first half of the movie and some of Spike's decisions, but I think just going in and with a blank slate and just like letting this movie, be what it wants to be, and not like let go of your preconceptions or whatever you want it to be, and just experience it for the work of art that it is, I think is the best way to experience it. But dude, I thought it was brilliant.
Yes.
There was so many times where it upended my expectations, even within the movie. Like, even I don't want to get too deep into it, but like, just like some of the scenes. There's like that's the water scene, the water sprint scene, right? With the alpha zombie,
the orchestra in the background.
Yeah, and right, exactly, bro. It's this terrifying fucking event that's happening, but it's so beautifully rendered and shot.
With
and
the music,
just cinematically gorgeous. Yes, and like there's that one where they're running and like they're running from him, and the strings are swelling, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
I know, bro.
I don't know how to feel right now. I don't know.
No, but really,
I love that.
I thought that was part of the movie.
Yeah, I love a work of art that makes you question yourself on what you're feeling, and that like it was profound. So and it did that more than once. It did that many times. So to me, that was
28 inches. I haven't seen this meme, but my wife said that joke to me. I'm like, writing that down. 28 inches later,
bro. And some of these camera shots when like bro would jump down and that joint would be dangling, and you're just like watching the shit like
trying to dodge and shit, bro. Like, oh shit.
Dude, just speaking on the cinematography, I was looking up right now because I was wondering, like, is this the same guy? And it is, from what I'm looking at. I'm pretty damn sure Anthony Dodd Mantle. I don't think I'm incorrect, because it says he did 28 days later, and he's back for this one. Yeah, does appear to be the same guy.
Keeps the same team around. Like, he doesn't really switch up too much.
It's so good. There's so many moments. Like, that might be the highlight of the movie to me. It's just the way it's shot. There's so many moments where it's like he takes the camera and they put it in an interesting spot.
The fields, bro.
You didn't have to. Yeah, the field, like the beauty in the movie. Like, there's this. We'll get into the zombies a little bit. Like, one aspect of the zombies, I feel, is like they seem like they're like a part of nature. You know what I mean? Like they're naked. They've got this long hair.
Like, that was another part I love. They devolved into like different type of creatures, right? You got your like grub worms, essentially.
The creepy crawlers.
You got your motherfucking like the tigers and the lions. Like, it was. I love that dichotomy though. Like how they've all kind of like gone their each their separate path. And
did the no clothes kind of? I like that touch. It makes sense since they're kind of going back to like
For sure.
It's been 28 years. They're gonna have knocked them and worn those clothes off.
Possessed with the virus, Like, but I did appreciate the way, like you said, bro. Like, we're evolving back into humanity. Like, I love the stuff with like the pregnant zombie and like that one scene in the riverbed where you see the pregnant zombie and you see the one who's picking up rocks and throwing them in the water. It's like a very simple, like rudimentary thing, but it shows you that like some type of like conscious brain activity is returning.
Right. Danny Boyle described it as, and obviously he's not the one that wrote it. Alex Garland was. Maybe they wrote it together, but he was the interview that I saw is like it's not even necessarily like the people evolving or the zombies or the infected evolving. It's the virus evolving.
Yeah.
The virus had to find a way to survive, so they evolved the alpha zombies. They evolved the fat zombies, which I thought was fucking awesome. Like the fat zombies,
terrifying.
First of all, they just look crazy, right? I wanted to do sign me up. I'm fat. I like zombies. I'll be a fat zombie. I'll eat worms, bro. Like sign me up.
No.
But also, it's a nice nod to like slow zombies. Like this is the fast zombie franchise. Didn't introduce it, but popularized it as we've said many times. But like this is kind of like a nod to like slow zombies that you can kind of duck in and out of the way. So cool.
That's a good
so
one.
Cool. I kind of want to first of all before we go any further, just let me know because I'm seeing my internet being a little bitch. Like right there. So if I'm having any issues, am I cutting out?
You skip
the video,
but I can
not
hear
the
you.
audio.
Was it
Not
like
audio.
It was just video. Audio's good.
Okay, it's like
you're not having any like awkward poses or anything.
I was gonna say as long as it's in like a cool kind of hip hop way, then we're all good. Yeah. But if it gets worse, I'm wired in and I can change my settings. Just let me know. But I kind of want to slightly to agree, kind of walk through the film to a degree. I just want to start with the opening scene because Link, you hit on it right off the bat. Like even Danny Boyle, I've never loved the fact that Danny Boyle was like 28 Days Later isn't a zombie movie. It's like, bro, come on. I mean, it is. Don't say that. That's like disrespectful to where your roots came from. And George Romero and zombies, like it is a zombie movie. You're putting your twist on it. But this one, the way it opens up, and it's just like a zombie movie. Like undeniably, like, and that might be like the most like classic, like iconic zombie look that we get in the movie because it's before they're naked and they're more like these caveman zombies that we get the rest of the movie. But I loved it. My wife hated that they killed the kids, and they didn't show it, which was great. This wasn't When Evil Lurks. We've got to rip it apart kids in front of our eyes and shit. But like just that splatter of blood and knowing that a bunch of kids just died. And that being the thing that sets up Jimmy, who is obviously going to become super important in this trilogy going forward. I thought it was so damn cool and intense. His mom turning around and, spewing that blood, telling him to run. So good. Teletubbies and the whole stuck in 2002 aspect of the whole thing, which I think is fucking awesome. But you got thoughts on the opening scene, Link?
Oh, man, I loved it, man. 28... that's one thing I hope they continue in future movies is always have like a brilliant, like, 28 Days Later is probably the worst of the openers, even though it gets the job done. Sets the world up. It's
right. Yeah, I would agree with you, but I also love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, if you're talking about the very first, like the monkeys escaping scene as the opening scene, which it is, but if you're talking about the opening of Jim and him waking up in London and all that, like that's iconic as hell.
They
nailed that, obviously.
Yeah. But I'm talking about in terms of like the outbreak scene. Well, I guess we could say that it feels like something that's been a part of all three of them, but I guess that's really what started in 20 Weeks was that, the only scene people can remember from the movie.
Right.
But it felt so much more like I loved the opening of 28 Weeks Later, but I might be a little biased. I like this opening better. Like I feel like it was way more impactful just because off rip, her POV as a child, not an able-bodied adult. It's like, not to be sexist, but it's like even as a man, I'm like, he's a man, he can take care of himself, as opposed, but with this one, it just felt so much more claustrophobic, like in the house. And then I loved the church scene was fucking masterful, bro. Like it was a clear shout out to like the church scene from 28 Days with Jim and everything. But I love when the priest, Jimmy's dad, gets infected because it's like he gets surrounded. He comes out. It's almost like a baptism of infected. and he leads out the church, and the infected all follow him. It's like a priest and his congregation.
Right.
Yeah, facts.
It was really cool.
It's so awesome. Yeah.
It is.
He's like waiting for it too.
There's one thing they know how to. It's one thing that they're very good at, because like you said, the first one's a little different. It's not really outbreak scene, but the 28 franchise is really brilliant at establishing like tension right off the jump, and I hope they always continue that.
Right.
From future movies. Like, if nothing else, always have a banger opener like that.
Right.
You know,
I have little doubt that they will. Just so it's so easy to be so, like, so you know what I mean? So badass. Kenneth Bird, my brother. Whoa. It's not coming up. Is my internet going shit? Oh my god! You know what? I'm gonna ask you a question, and then I'm gonna fuck with my internet and see if I can.
Sounds good, bud.
Fix this. But what did you think of not just the opening scene, but like let's get into that. Like, if you got thoughts on the first scene, throw that in. But like the first act, like the beginning of Spike's story, the trip that they make.
Dude, the first scene. Speaking about the first scene, I thought it was masterful how the Teletubbies, like the way they build suspense, and the way, dude, the way all those kids look stressed out felt so real and so believable. It wasn't too dramatic or over the top. It just felt like just the right amount. And and I love how we explode from that like simmering tension into, like Link said, like Homeboy's dad, and like how he's like fanatical with it, right? Oh, it's this day has been coming. Yeah, we're getting cleansed essentially, and yeah, dude, I thought the bit to have him, like Link said, to have him leading the congregation out of the church was just brilliant. I thought it was such a killer opening sequence. One of the best done. Like, we saw little bits of that, I think, in the advertisements for this movie. I wish they had just left that completely off the thing, because it was such a great thing to experience, like in its entirety. I loved the first act of the movie. I thought it did an incredible job at setting the tone. I love the bits of like the Boots poem, and like all these like men going to war, men doing what they, when they go out for the hunt. I thought it was a great job of like establishing, kind of world building in a sense. This is this kind of like, antiquated in a sense, idea of masculinity and being a provider and all that stuff is really prevalent, and the way things work around here on this island. And, so be it. Obviously, these people are doing what they got to do to make it work, but there's also, flaws and, inherent vices that come along, with adhering to this religiously. So I thought it was dope to see Spike kind of go through that progression of, I know this is the way like everybody lives and this is what's taught to me, but is this really right for me? And I thought, just having that back and forth with his father, waking up on the big hunting day, like the people not thinking he was ready, the back and forth, and immediately we get into the shit. Like,
he was 2 years but below the recommended,
right? Because it was like 14, it seemed like, and he was 12.
14,
and dude,
but
I love like,
my bad.
No, you're good. But I love how when we got over, like once we crossed the water, shit got real. It's I love how they wasted no time getting into it. And just like that unease, the sound design and the forest, like how it was always screams or grunts, or like you didn't know what was happening. And even from that first encounter with the I'm gonna call them the grub worms. I forget what their what's the official name? They got a name for it. It calls them something.
Fat zombies. Crawlers. I also felt like it was maybe not a nod, but it reminded me of Nazi zombies. Crawlers. We got a crawler. Leave one crawler so we can finish this shit. You know what I mean? Crawlers are a big part of the zombie world.
But I love how even they kind of got snuck up on there. Like, it shows you like the precariousness of their situation, how like anything can go wrong at a moment's notice. And there were so many moments like that. And it was a brilliant bit of foreshadowing where you think, you're in control, but you have no idea what's going on.
You know what? There's so much that I think, especially the first time that I watched the movie, the first act was my favorite. I think it's a little bit oddly structured, and I think part of that is because they're setting up other movies while they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's like there's 40 minutes, which is what it is. The first act, basically, like Spike's beginning story and his venture to the woods and back, or venture off the island and back. I'm sitting here looking at my internet, fucking worried if I'm dipping out.
You're good,
but sorry, but it's weird because then afterwards, like the real movie starts. Like the real thrust of what the story is about saving his mom starts 40 minutes in, and then you kind of get like another trip that kind of does its own separate journey. That like threw me off the first time. The second time, like it didn't, and I enjoyed. I don't know. I really don't know what act is my favorite now, but regardless, I love one of my big fears, and I mentioned this to you guys, and I've seen some people say this online also, is like I hope this isn't like The Walking Dead. Just from looking at the images coming, I'm like, oh shit, that looks like Walking Dead, and everybody's over that. Everybody's over post-apocalyptic zombie stuff, but it never felt like that to me at all. Even though it's like similar shit happening, it was so cinematic and so character driven that it never didn't really like feel like The Walking Dead at all, even though it's like so close to it. But the thing I was gonna say, and this is kind of a random ass thing, and I always think shit like this. I always like romanticize the apocalypse. Like the things about it that seem so much better than the way we have it now. And there's something about them sitting around a classroom. Imagine like when we all went to school, the pressure we have on us is like, you could be the president. You could be anything you want to be. And this is like, you can be a farmer. You can be a cleaner. You know what I mean? You could be like, fuck, I could do that.
You might even graduate to Watchtower.
Right. There's like so like little pressure on you from your like people that would be fucking awesome. You know what I mean? Like that is the romantic thing about it. We've overcomplicated everything
until
where like, you're so far removed from what you're actually doing. What do you do to feed your family? Well, you know what I mean? Like it's so weird what we do now to feed our family. Before it's like, what do you do to feed your family? Well, I pick corn and I kill pigs. You know what I mean? Like there's something about that I always find like endlessly romantic. It's like we need more of that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not out there like skipping the grocery store and killing pigs or anything, but there is something about that I think would make us all like a little bit happier.
Getting back to the basics,
more self-sufficient, for sure.
Right?
Yeah. Until you're like one of those people who's like, why do I have to do this? And aren't there other things in life? You know?
Well, you could be a Watchtower boy, or you could run out, or you could run off in the woods and die. You know what I mean? You'll figure it out. But,
real quick, I did take notes this time around for one. I just want to run through my little bullet points I laid out for the first act.
Okay, please.
Loved how the film opens. Chaos, like the first two I said. This kind of foreshadowing. Film opens with Jimmy, ends with Jimmy. Teletubby music was badass. Covered the church scene. Loved the montage establishing like everyone's roles. Like with the music playing, like it was really effective at kind of like conveying how the island operates without having to have too much exposition with people fucking. Because when he's walking across the island with Alfie or Spike initially, there's that little scene where he's like, it's for the audience because he's like, we can't swim at night because of the tide and this and that, and so,
right.
Clearly he knows this, but he has to explain this verbally for the audience.
I thought about that too, but it's like not bad because I mean we all have kids. Don't you do that? Like I sit and quiz them. Do you touch that? This is hot. Do you touch that? No, you know what I mean. That's why.
No, I'm not saying it was
right
terrible, but they could have easily done that for like the island and shit like that, but instead you get a brief montage, with some cool music, and it's quick setup. We don't know too much about the island. I actually kind of got like Village vibes. I don't know if you guys got that, like, because there's something going on with their community. I think everyone's become a little bit of xenophobic over in like, if you're not from our tribe, we don't fucking trust anything you do. Like Dr. Kentwood or whatever his name is, good example. Just because they saw something like, oh, we don't fuck with him. We haven't been back there in 15 years. Like,
I thought that was interesting. Did you guys sorry to jump in, but did you guys think that for me that didn't really land because it's like, and I guess it kind of says about what you're saying. If you went through a zombie apocalypse where it was people that infected you and destroyed the world, you might be like, I don't fuck with people. You know what I mean? But to me, I didn't buy that. They told this whole story. We came across this man and he was laying out bodies and he waved at us. I'm like, well, I would be like, what's up, bro? Like, are you good? Like, they were like, we didn't ever fucking go back. Like, it didn't seem that crazy what he was doing. It seemed like you couldn't explain that away with some reason other than being a crazy person that you're lining up zombie bodies.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I
guess.
think there's more to his island that we'll find out in like the next movie. Like they're not all that good. Like they're better than most, but they because it's like, I mean, I understood where she's coming from, but when they're being chased by the alpha and she's like, wait, clearly she was waiting to see if they've been affected. But it's like, regardless of the emotional attachment, they will fucking act like she's told him. She's like, free to go, but we wouldn't send nobody after you.
Right.
So you're on your own.
Yeah.
You know?
They've become calloused and kind of soulless. I'm glad you said that, just the weight thing. That's what I'm talking about. Like the filmmaking in that moment was so good with the music and the editing and the way she's like, wait,
cutting back and forth. Yeah.
Wait. It was so goddamn cinematic and dramatic. I was like, yes, wait. So goddamn good, man.
Stu reminded me of it actually, but the beginning, you know, with they're kind of referencing like it's like a blend of like he's got Power Ranger toys, but he's never used technology. Like he's learning how to shoot it. Like when they're doing like the splicing scenes from 28 Weeks Later when the snipers were looking down on people, but every time someone fired a shot, it was an archer. You know, that was like a cool thing where it's like they were showing like the melding of time, how it's still modern, but there's a lot of things that Spike himself has like missed out on, like, you know, not to get too far, but when Elric is the soldier is telling him about shit, he's like, nah, you wouldn't understand that, you know, because it's like there's so much shit that's alien to Spike because he has kind of grown up in the Dark Ages, even though it's modern Dark Ages.
There's a million like little micro shots like that, like throughout the movie that I thought were like perfect. Like I just love like all of those like little night vision freaking thermal red shots of the zombies on their eye. And I'm like, yo, I'm here for that all the time. It's just so brilliantly done, man. And I feel like, yeah. I feel like thematically what you're saying, like all those like old like boys gone to war type of shits. But yeah, like that one where it was like medieval archers like letting loose arrows, and then you saw like the modern day equivalent. That was brilliant.
It's so brilliant, man. Well, and like the music with it or whatever that was. I think that's some like famous speech that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, it's the Rudyard Kipling poem, Boots or whatever. It's, you know, about I think World War I or whatever, but it was, you know, just, you know, I think it was talking about PTSD before anybody knew how to talk about it. But it just seems like you know, they really struck gold with that, not only for the trailer but for the movie. It was cool how to see that. Like, because I thought that was going to be a trailer thing only, but it was cool to see that incorporated.
Right. Well. Yeah. I never watched the trailer. I don't think. I'm pretty sure I did.
I wish I had your willpower, bro. I swear. Like
I saw a few images. I was Googling zombie dicks, and I just happened to stumble across a few things just randomly. Speaking of zombie dicks, let's talk about the zombies a little bit. We've touched on them, the fat zombies. This is something I said to you, I think, when we did 28 Weeks Later. I was hesitant for them to introduce like an evolving zombie because I don't know. There's always been something like this is something George Romero did with his zombies. Once he got to the fourth one, that he started to introduce the idea of zombies becoming smart and like evolving intelligent. Wait, no, the third one he did it with Bub, Bub and Day of the Dead, and then he continued it with more of like a developing a society and a culture in Land of the Dead. And there was always something that, like, for whatever reason, kind of rubbed me wrong about it. And I thought I told you, I'm like, I don't want them to do that. The way they did it in this one seemed way more natural. Just the fact that it's 28 years, having it explained to me that it was the virus evolving is pretty cool. But like to have like a class system of zombies was fucking cool. Like to have these alphas and have like a harsher. There's two things.
You know what's crazy?
Yeah, please.
To riff on that. Alex Garland, the writer, said he did the different forms because he had been playing a lot of Last of Us, which is funny because Last of Us was inspired by 28 Days Later.
That's hilarious.
Like
that's crazy.
I love that.
That's dope.
This is one thing, and it's the same. Like we'll touch on the end scene with the Jimmy gang. What I fear is like the biggest problem with The Walking Dead is like nobody is afraid of zombies. Like the viewers aren't afraid of zombies. And the people in the show aren't afraid of zombies. I don't want this to go the route where nobody's afraid of zombies. Where, especially with the Jimmy gang at the end, they don't give a fuck about zombies. They're cutting their heads off left and right, no issues. And it's like I don't want them to become like, oh, we need an alpha for it to be like a scary situation now. You know what I mean? Like we got to ramp it up.
I feel like with the Jimmy gang, it's more of like a false bravado. Like they they're cocky when they know it's something they can handle, but let them be overwhelmed by odds. Like I'm curious to see how they get, or like how effective they are in the next movie. To be honest, like
I can't wait for it.
You know?
By the way, it comes out. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's January 2026, so it's coming out. Yeah, like it's filmed. They're making it. It's coming.
Yeah, they're rolling.
Now, while I'm on the subject, let me look this up so I have the proper numbers. The first one had a $60 million budget. It's only made $68 million so far, and the third film is dependent on the box office from the first two films. So if you guys have not seen this movie, get out there and go see it. If you've seen it, go see it again, because I will be so upset if they, for whatever reason, this falls apart.
I think it's going to happen regardless. They got, because all right, so let's lay it out. So, and me personally as a fan is hoping I was going to get like the holy trinity of like Cillian Murphy, Alex Garland, Boyle, all in one film,
which we will.
That's cool. Yeah. Next film we get Garland and Murphy and Cillian Murphy, but the third film is where we get the holy trinity that's supposed to come back. Here's the thing: Cillian Murphy is a big time actor. He was just in Oppenheimer. There's no way a studio is going to turn down, regardless of the budget. You know, it's debatable to say that because he wasn't in the first one, it wasn't going to make that much. But let him be the star of the one. We'll see how much people turn up for that one. You know, like,
no, that's a good point. They got to turn up for. First of all, this has to continue to do decent and hopefully do a little bit better, and hopefully the next one does really well. You know what I mean? Hopefully they spend a little less on it, but I don't know. I'm hoping that it all comes together in the end and we get that third movie. I'm sure we will.
How much did you say this one has made so far?
It only 8 or 9 million more than its budget. It's a pretty decent sized budget, $60 million.
That's kind of impressive because they didn't Americanize this one like they tried to with 28 Weeks Later.
Absolutely
this is
not.
A British film, like, you know, so for them to have already made back their money, I consider that a win because first one became cult favorite, you know, like it did moderate, but it wasn't a blockbuster either. And 28 weeks, I guess that's how it goes. It's like the one that deserves the less money, 28 weeks is the one that's
more profitable.
At the back, yes,
right. Yeah. Which makes sense. It got paid off of the advertising was 28 days later to get that one. People butts in the seats. But let us talk about the second, or I guess the second act, the third act. Let's talk about the mom story. Please go ahead.
I feel like there's only 2 acts in this movie.
I agree. It's like there's 2 movies almost. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why I'm feeling it feels structurally odd to me. I think once we have all these movies, it's going to soar. I think that's when this movie is going to be at its best. Like watch them all, then come back to this, and it's going to be like.
So to me, like going in, that was the most jarring part because I had no idea these other 2 films were planned and this was already in to go. So like when we got to the end, I was like, "This is fucking awesome, bro!" Like Senior Boy, I was like, "Yo, it's Lake's boy." He showed up again in the fucking outfit and the hair, like, oh, it was pitch perfect. But at the same time, I was like, this is bizarre as fuck. Like I'm here for it, but what the hell is going on? So. Like that, like hearing that in context makes so much sense.
Okay. See, I heard someone else say that, and here's the counter that like I don't think it just suffers from like it's setting up from a sequel. Like, Spike, Boy's first love is his mom. His first friend is his father, right? He loses both. Like I think people are looking at this as like too much as like a movie standpoint. Like, why would you open the door? It's like instead of like this is an emotional standpoint. Like Spike lost both of those in back to back, you know, that's a traumatizing event. So it's like when he finds the Jimmy Gang or whatever, he's vulnerable. You know, I don't want to say easy to manipulate, but it's like, you know, a shout out to the Power Ranger toy that he had at the beginning of the movie. Like,
I love
maybe that's, you know, maybe we're seeing Jimmy's gang through Spike's eyes. Like that's how he thought they were moving like fucking Power Rangers and shit like that. Right. You know, like to Jimmy or to Spike, he's found like what he knew, and that's another thing. It's a coming of age movie, and it's like one of the biggest events to go over. One of the hardest for me personally. It was like your parents don't have all the answers. They're flawed just like everybody else is because you grow up and it's every time you ask them a question, they have an answer, and it's like eventually gets to the point where like I don't know. Or it's like I don't, you know, I'll find out. Or it's like I eventually gets to the point I don't know. You know, it's like you realize they're just like everybody else. You know, there's some things you have to go out in the world and do for yourself.
Christina, what's up? Appreciate you,
Christina.
I think that that's kind of like speaking on that, like, you know, just it's like he's a teenager too. It's like when you find your group as a teenager, like around that age, those are the most influential people to you, not your parents. You know,
right?
Your friends and peers.
That bit. Well, we touch on it now since we're on it. Like I didn't get it. Like my wife afterwards, like basically explained to me, like they're stuck in 2002. I was like,
Yes.
Oh, and I thought that was so cool. What was the movie we watched recently? Maybe it's been a while. Regardless, like Fallout. You guys all played Fallout?
Oh yeah.
Like in Fallout, it is forever Halloween. Like imagine that. Imagine if the apocalypse happens on Valentine's, on fucking St. Patrick's Day. I think would be the funniest one. And it is forever St. Patrick's Day on planet Earth. Like here, it's forever 2002. They've never moved on. And I was like, I honestly didn't get that at first. I didn't put the 2 and 2 together, but like, it's so funny.
The reference behind their look, the Jimmy
Savile.
Yeah. So I didn't. So as a statesman, I didn't get that reference. I had to do my homework afterwards. But what I will say is that scene conveyed that they were a cult, you know, and that's what I think they're trying to get it. Now, for the people who were in the know, who knew who Jimmy Savile were, I think that was even like, it's even more of a gut wrenching thing because it's like, you know, he's a terrible figure that they're idolizing. On top of them making a cult out of this dude. So, it's
but like, they never found out. That's what's so cool about it.
Yeah,
they don't know. Yeah. In 2002, Jimmy Savile was one of the most beloved people in the UK. Kids loved him. Yeah. Everybody loved him. Old people love him. 2025, he's one of the worst child rapists and old people rapists in the history of the planet. And he's just a sick, disgusting figure.
We can compare that to, you know, not to the degree, but it's like Diddy right now, you know, it's like how many people were rocking Sean John back in the day, or like, you know, people said they looked up to Diddy and shit like that.
If this was an American movie and they died in like 1998, they'd
like,
all be
shiny
suit.
Take that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Stop, won't stop. That's hysterical. That's funny, man. It is. It's fucked up. I didn't get it. I honestly didn't get that at the time. But back to his mom. That shit threw me off the first time, and I'll just say, like, even the second time that I watched it, when they're like, all right, your mom has cancer, she's not long for this world, so I'll be right back. I'm gonna go with your mom. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back.
Oh,
here's her skull. I killed her. You can put it up in the best spot, though. You pick any spot you want, Spike. I laughed both times. I'm like, something about that is super fucked up.
My favorite part was like, we're gonna hit you with the blow dart. Now hold the baby. You on the fire. You on the fire.
Like that type of drug made someone like, we gotta get. I mean, we miss the soldiers. Can we talk about the soldiers?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's all part of it. It's all part of it. I was just jumping ahead to that part that stuck out to me. But yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Eric? Eric? That was my biggest thing, is the way he says Eric.
Eric. Like, what's his name? Eric? Because I thought Ray Fiennes was like Eric, called him Eric, but then he was like.
He did. Fiennes called him Eric. I think it's just an accent thing. He's Eric. Eric the Great.
But that was
decapitated.
Talk about a scene that felt like a little out of place for me. Like it was like, or two different movies. I felt like even though it was a necessity, because you kind of find out like how the rest of the world, what the rest of the world's outlook was on the situation on in England or whatever. But it just felt like, I don't know, just, you know, they rushed in, and then it's like at one point, like a soldier standing there watching his comrades get turned into infected, and the infected are running past this dude. They're not attacking him. They're running right past this soldier. Right. That's the only nitpick I had in the film, where I'm like, this is kind of weak, you know, because I'm like, how are they running right past him? Like, it makes no sense. And he's just watching the transformation for the audience convenience. The only nitpick I had.
They even have that, like, in 28 weeks later, there's a bit where everything's fucking going crazy. Half the people turn into zombies in this crowd, and they've got the kid in that movie. And he's kind of walking around in a crowd of zombies then. I think part of it might be that they're so raged. They're so crazy that they're not like your typical, they're going to sniff you out kind of zombies that we see. Like, they're just
they are based off
28 days.
Well, they're based off of pheromones. Like that's how they can track people down based off of scent and shit like that. Like well, I actually posted a little trade paperback today. That I don't know how much Boyle and Garland did help commission it. Like it's but it gives you the origin of the virus. It's called 28 Days Later, the Aftermath. But in the book, it establishes like the best way to stay. Like that's why the doctor. I think they were kind of homaging it because like that. Spoiler: the doctor, when he's like covering himself in iodine, like I thought it was blood at first, but he said like it's a good prophylactic. Like the blood it doesn't react to it. But I thought that was a good way to deter the zombies off, like, or the infected. But in the book, it explains like if you don't wear perfume, don't wear deodorant, like any type of like unnatural smell, they pick up on easily. Like
that's cool.
So they're like and it's like the virus, like you said, like they attack anything that's not them. Like they can sense out anything that's not them within a vicinity to a certain degree. So
one of my biggest issues had to also do with Eric. So I'll just get to that now. Like, what exactly was it? We talked in 28 weeks later. We were like, there's a lot of coincidences in this one, and that didn't really take place in 28 days later. There's not a lot of like movie moments where it's like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
there's a lot of fucking coincidences. This one, like a fuck ton. Like Eric, when we meet Eric, he had crashed his ship. Crash landed on the island and had all of his people killed, and he's the only survivor. And it happens to be the same day that our main heroes have just left their place and whatever.
And, they needed his help too. Like that was like
they meet together. Right after that is the moment that this pregnant zombie is about to give birth. They run into her. Right after that, they run into the doctor. Bam, 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 bam. All these things happen all at once. I feel like there was one more, but I don't. That to me was like there was quite a bit going on, and then also just the fact that Eric comes in, he gives us the exposition, he fills us in with what's going on in the rest of the world, and he dies 10 seconds later, and it's like, you know what I mean? He's pretty much a plot device, and it was not that it's bad, but I'm just saying it's like if you're gonna nitpick and like coincidences. There's that in this movie for sure. It's not like
here's the
The
counter
catalyst
you know what,
that like
this
gave us. I'm sorry.
This movie had that 28 weeks later was lacking, even though they both had coincidences. This movie had heart and emotion that 20 weeks later did not. So it's like if you're gonna at least have those weird ass coincidences, have something to compensate for it.
I might not even have noticed it had we not just been talking about the 28 weeks later.
Because you're so,
you know what I mean? I'm thinking about
it
because we just talked. We're like, Danny Boyle would never. Alex Garland would never. You know what I mean? And then they did. It's like, oh fuck, I guess they would.
That's why I said this movie is not. It's not 28 days because, like, I agree with you. I think 28 days later is pretty. Like, there are, if you dig deep enough, plot holes, but I think pretty much is foolproof. Like, it's a solid story.
I might be quicker to want to throw this one on, man, just because, like, I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, 28 Days Later might be the better movie, but there's something like awesome about this one.
Yes,
but Stu, what were you gonna say?
I just thought Eric was the catalyst to kind of introduce dudes getting their freaking spinal cord removed, right? Like this whole it was like where we got that. But yeah, dude, that scene where they were kind of all getting unknowingly driven into that tunnel, and wasn't that was the first appearance of Samson, wasn't it? I think like
in the tunnel, when he found the soldiers.
It was just badass.
That's when we got the first shot. Well, the first alpha had dick shot, but Samson, it was even in a dark tunnel, you could see that bad boy swinging, and not his arm or the spinal cord.
Inches later. And what an inspired decision. They're like, what would be crazy? What if this zombie has a huge dick? And then,
you guys think that was prosthetic?
In the movie, there's a bunch of dicks leading up to that. I said that to my wife. She's like, there was? My wife, and I'm like, yeah, there was a bunch of dicks. All the zombies were naked. This is the naked zombie. But also back to what Eric kind of tells us, and just even like the plot of the movie and the setup of the movie is like what happens at the end 28 weeks later. Or Stu, I don't know when the last time you saw that one was, but like at the end of that, they show that the infection has spread to Paris. So it's on mainland Europe, and we can infer that it's probably fucking everywhere if it's in France, all the way from the UK. In this movie, they kind of like, and they like kind of write that away, and they say like we pushed it back, and it's just back on the island.
I think that's fair to say. Like,
no, I'm not saying it's like nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying like that's the situation of the world, and like that's always weirded me out that it's just in the UK. Like this thing is right here, and like part of it is like Eric's looking at it, like Eric's view is like I'll fucking kill you guys right now. Like put that baby down, I'll kill you. He's like so quick to kill everybody. That's the rest of the world's like the way that they view these people on this island. Like they're like whatever. What are you? They don't even like drop supplies to them, which they would in real life. They'd be trying. Right. We would be taking care of these people. We would be dropping cell phones and giving them Wi-Fi and being like, hey, you know, we would be interviewing them, wanting to know all about it, making them social.
I mean, let's be real about this. Like we say this now, but like this, let's take it from the point of 28 weeks later. They did try to repopulate it. They think that the American government, the world police, we thought we had it under control. We didn't. Not only did it fucking we could not contain it. It spread to different parts of Europe. Luckily enough, they were able to push it back. But at that point, it's like, yo, we're just gonna leave it be. You know, it's like we got it. We barely got it out of the rest of Europe. Like, fuck it. We'll just, you know, they're a dead zone. Like
we'd still drop them supplies and phones and Wi-Fi. We'd still do.
We don't know like that. Like, unfortunately, we don't know that like maybe that could be a thing that like different parts of the UK have gotten supplies. Like maybe because they're so far out on a like. Fair enough. I don't know. These guys far-fetched.
But those boats seem like awfully close to the island. Like when they were looking out the window of that like abandoned house at night and they saw like the lights in the boat. It's like that can't be that far from the fucking
Oh yeah.
Like because remember they saw the fire in one spot and then the boat, like the lights in the boat. It's like it can't be.
That's why those motherfuckers that's why they got shipwrecked, because they were too goddamn close to the island. You know?
Did you guys? And I know that I'm pretty sure that island is an actual island and it has a name, but I know they give it a name in the book. But did you guys think it looked like the continent of Africa? Like I thought that the whole time. Like the island that they live on is the exact shape of Africa, and I was like, "Is this a man-made island?" I know that they've done that. Like that's a thing. Like somebody some years ago they like built replicas of all the continents, but that's not it. That's not what they look like.
Oh no!
But, you guys in the chat, let me know. But yeah, I thought it looked like fun.
Island. It was so cool though. I like that whole premise, like the island, the high tide thing. I thought that was dope.
For sure.
No, yeah. That I want them to explain the island. Hopefully they get into the island more in the second one. But you reminded me of Eric. Oh, okay. She can't help it. You can't help me. Why the fuck did I help you? Right. I loved that quote just because he was such a dickhead. Piece you know.
Yeah. He was good too. Like when he showed up, I was like, I don't, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, so this is gonna be a new star for the rest of the movie. Like I don't really. When he died, I was like, oh, okay, good. Like good. There was something about him. Like I didn't want to hang out with this guy for the rest of the movie.
Dude,
yo, what did you guys think of? Sorry.
Before we move on, I just got to shout out this scene with the mom. The scene when they're like early on when they're asleep in the cathedral and that crawler comes up and it's like overnight and they shoot it like past and present. Like, yeah, dude, what happened to him? And then she gets that flashback like, oh shit, I did that to them.
Right.
That was brilliant. I love the whole way they put that together.
She's great at having that like that look in her eyes.
Yes.
Confused. She's really, really good actress. I thought that was a really cool shout or nod to in 28 Days Later, they spend a night in these ruins for a little bit. That's when they have their quiet little moment. And in this one, they do that again. They have their little night in the ruins. So
I never knew, and I didn't peep that. That's a good callback.
So what do you guys think about just like the? I'm sorry. Like, yeah, go ahead. You were about to say
I'm just off the rim right now. But what do you guys think of the okay, so I would say first and foremost, I enjoyed the birth scene. I thought it was one of the more compelling, fascinating scenes in the movie. This is where I've seen the zombie birth scene.
Oh yeah,
that was wild.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people like kind of complain about this, and that's where it's like I'm just like, what? Like I feel like in other hands, this scene could have easily been laughable and corny, but it's like they carried the Garland and company like Boyle, they carried this scene with so much weight, and like I don't know, I felt it was like one of the better scenes in the movie, to be honest. Like
I liked it a lot. I kind of took it as the same thing as like they've developed like she knows that if she doesn't cooperate with people, or if she's raging, she's not gonna be able to have her baby. So that's kind of like an evolutionary like thing. Like even though she's infected, like she knows she has to chill out to have this baby. The other thing I question is that the first baby? Is there a bunch of them? Are they going to find out that there's humans that have been born by these zombies that are living amongst them? You know what I mean?
Well, the thing I think how I took it was like the babies come out natural, but at a certain point, I think maybe breastfeeding or whatever, that's when they become infected themselves. But when they're birthed initially, they're just regular. And this is a theory to get into, but I think the baby's going to have some weight over the next course of the 3.
Oh, for sure. The baby's going to be fucking huge. It's like Jesus Christ as a zombie, that baby. Like, seriously.
I mentioned this to you earlier in the week, Bruno. I was like, now the baby could grow up because clearly the alpha is chasing them throughout the film because he's got the scent of somebody. Maybe he's chasing the baby. Maybe he can smell them. But I took it as like maybe the baby could grow up. Baby grows up at the village, right? You know, like maybe you say the third film takes place 10 years from now. The young baby Isla is a teenager now. She's maybe Spike's age, you know,
right.
And she's going out for some whatever reason. Maybe she can interact amongst the infected she's like the boy from 28 Weeks Later, where she's like a carrier, but the virus hasn't affected her herself, and she can be amongst the infected without them attacking her. But she can also interact with.
Totally, they're gonna do something. I feel like that's exactly where they're gonna go with it. She's gonna be, you know what I mean? That's kind of how Romero was going that route with Land of the Dead. You guys do like they were like coming to peace with the zombies almost, but there's like the hint that might be where it goes. I could see that being where this whole thing ends up, where she's like the thing that brings them all together. Because that's part of the idea of this movie is like they are people. You know what I mean? Like I always think that when we're looking at zombie movies, like we so quickly dehumanize them and make them zombies. We have no feeling about wiping out hundreds of them instantly. It's so easy to do that. Like that's kind of shining a light on that mentality that we have.
Yeah, you have to like remind yourself, I think, that, you know, you see her pregnant a couple times in the movie and you see her give birth, but like you still have to remind yourself these things are getting intimate, right? They're having sex, and and that's crazy. That's crazy to think about. And then I love that little twist too. When he's running, he's running through the Alpha's running through the train, and he stops
and he
picks her up, and you can tell like there's feelings there, right? Like he feels some type of way, like he's even more enraged. So I thought those two little things help so much to, like, you know, push that, like you said, in that direction to where they're more empathetic, they're more human, they're, you know, starting to feel things again.
Right. That's why it's a delicate thing to do, and I think they handled it way better than I thought they. You know what I mean? That I thought they could have.
Absolutely. Because they could have been like follow the pregnant woman and made her whole thing, but you just saw her in the creek once. You saw her here, like it wasn't
enough to be like, is she pregnant?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
But what you were saying, Bruno, about how we forget often that they're human. That's why I loved Ray Fiennes' characters, because he said that, like, you know, that's why he did the whole memorial, is because it's like the infected, the non-infected, they all experienced life. Like they all saw things, they all breathed at one point, they all spoke love. You know, it's, you know, so I thought he was a very interesting character. I'm glad he's coming back too.
Is he? Yeah, I haven't even looked into that. He is coming back. He's in the next one, you know?
Who's that?
Yeah.
Nice.
Bone Temple. Ray Fiennes.
That was
we didn't get in resolution with him. I was hoping because man, I thought that was it for our boy there for a second, bro. Like even when dude had his hand over his mouth, I'm like, did he bite him? Like,
I know.
Did you bite him? Like, what are you doing? Like I thought like
it did look like he was biting him. Like, don't bite too hard. Yeah,
exactly. I was like,
another thing that can kind of go the way of like making the zombies not as scary as they were in 28 Days Later is that old boy has he can shoot a dart and like paralyze him. Why not kill that thing? Like, why didn't he kill him? Because I get it. He's got that, but also like, bro, I would have been, if I was Spike, I would have been like, no, we're definitely killing this 18-inch cock motherfucker, swinging dick, making new zombies. This one's got to go.
those are like his neighbors, you know, because clearly he's like, you know, this one's I've named him Samson. He's been in neck of the woods for about 3 years. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know,
He was
I
great.
love he hits him with a dart and he gets real close up, like up in his face, and they're like staring at each other for a minute. I'm like, bro, you are way too intimate with this. Chill out.
He was so good in the movie. Such like a
He was
weird ass
fantastic.
character. Another
my
one
God.
that if that wasn't done right, it could have been terrible. If it wasn't performed
Absolutely.
right or written just right, he was so like delicate with those scenes. Did you guys think it was like that? It was a little bit silly though. Like as soon as we find out you have cancer, I'm going
Bro
to
just wanted
kill
another
you.
skull. He just
Yeah, he's just dying for another
like,
skull.
oh shit.
I mean,
Well,
I get it. That's where it would go, but I thought it was a little bit like odd.
I think he was a doctor, and he like he's I think when Spike asked him how long the cancer is, and he said soon, like he kind of looked that it reminded me of the dad when Spike asked is mom dying, and the dad was like, I don't know. Like you could tell the dad knew, like, you know, like the mom said,
Right.
she was like, she knew, but she needed somebody else to tell him, and the dad wasn't strong enough to tell him. But I think that was another example where it's like, where, you know, the doctor looked down and says soon. Like, I think the doctor, like she even said she knew the tide was about to break. And had she gone back to her village, they had absolute no means of any type of medication,
Right.
you know. So this is like the worst of two evils, you know. Like, so it seemed, I think
It was the speed at which it happened that I had the issue with.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people were like, yo, he didn't really even fucking cry. He got up the next day, you know. Right. That, yes, is a little far-fetched. But I think, like, to the poetry of the movie, like, it speaks to that. Like, that.
Right.
I hate to say it, but the mom's death scene was one of the most beautiful scenes in the film, where it's like the fire swirling around as he's holding the baby. Things are moving in slow motion.
Him turning his mom to like face the sun,
fucking amazing,
was great. So fucking so goddamn good. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, it was like I'm with you, dude. That and the running at night under the stars on the bridge were the most beautiful scenes.
The scene in the field with the daisies and the angel, and just like everything that, like, how beautifully haunting that was, and like seeing her have that memory and be like so like immersed in it, and then like you can see like she's not doing too well, and dude, that appearance of that zombie was just like out of fucking nowhere. It was just so unsettling. It just like one of those haunting reminders that, man, like there is no safe place in this world.
Did you guys think it was odd that because it reminded me of that scene where she's like, when her dad, we get like the Muppet Baby thing where you never see the heads. Like, did you think that was odd? Do you think that there's some mystery behind who her dad was? Maybe it was Jim or something like that. Like,
that would be fun.
Or do you think just because her memory was fucking all over the place?
I just chalked it up to memory. Like, her cancer at the time, but that would be super crazy.
I think it just helped it be more dreamlike, and also helped you, like, she's calling him dad. It helped sell the confusion by not giving the face to the actual dad or something like that. But I love that scene. Again, it felt like kind of psychedelic to me. That moment was like something psychedelic about that. And then obviously that fucking bridge scene was like the more obvious psychedelic thing. But what we talked about earlier, that one lady saying, wait, there was something about the way that was filmed that was just like fucking so goddamn brilliant. Bry Fiven says, glazing this movie way too hard. It was not that good. Nowhere near the first two. Bro, I would disagree. If you would be too mean to Brian.
If he would have just left it at the first one, that's how the fact that you put the second one in such a high esteem lets me know your tastes are a little So, you know, have a seat.
That's why I warned you, saying not to be a dickhead to the listeners. That's why I fucking warned you. That's why I said it. But I get it. I think there's a lot of people. I left the movie being like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? The first time I saw it, I would not have been glazing over it the way I am now. I watched it again, and I'm open-minded about it. It's the filmmaking. I do think the story, like, definitely has issues. Like, it has a shitload of issues. And I think it's going to age better because of the movies that follow it. But the second watch, I was like, I loved it. I really did. Like, it swept me off my feet, especially by the end of the movie, which I had a bigger issue with the first time, just how quick it all wrapped up. And then, okay, so we've kind of danced around a little bit, but the silliness of the end. Link, you had a good point. You said if that
Yeah.
had been a post-credit scene, people wouldn't be complaining about it nearly as much. That's a great
Well,
fucking point.
where
Because
I
it
would
is
have
like a
edited it,
post-credit scene.
yeah, Danny Boyle has said as much, but what I think it just comes down to editing. But that's at the same time, I think that's weird because it's like a mid-credit, end-credit scene is still part of the movie. Yeah, at the end of the day, you know, so it's still canon to the events.
Right.
But I guess just in terms of pacing, but I would have ended the movie with the dad running through the water, yelling for Spike after he got the note. I would have ran credits a little bit, then picked up with a mid-credit scene with like Spike doing the fishing, he encounters the infected, then he meets the Jimmy gang. You know, that would have been the mid-credit scene. I just find it weird because I think if they would have edited that way, people wouldn't be complaining so much. But I find that such an odd thing to complain about when it still happened. It's just a cut of credits.
Right.
You know?
What was your take on it? Because my take quickly was like, well, that's fucking weird. I didn't think it was like, I mean, I didn't think much of it though. I'm not the type to run to the internet and be like, what the fuck was that? Like, I didn't get like, I wasn't freaking out about it. The second time, knowing it was coming and also understanding it more, like we said, like knowing like, oh, their only references Power Rangers and Teletubbies and Jimmy Seville and Puff Daddy. Like, of course, you know what I mean? It made a lot more sense to me.
And it was like the juxtaposition of like where he came from a community where they taught him almost like in a sense to kill only when necessary, to meeting a group of people who are killing for fucking fun. They're sawing heads off. It's not a one-hit kill. They put them out their misery. They're decapitating motherfuckers. They're torturing them. They remind you early
it's like their life.
Yeah, they're they're psychopaths. So it's like I think that's the contrast what's coming to what he's learned. So it's like he thinks his dad's a bad guy, you know, and shit like that. He's gonna see what true evil is.
Right.
You know,
that's a good point. That's something I'm glad you brought that up because I thought like his dad was the movie turned his dad into a villain, kind of like a little quickly. Right. You know what I mean? Like a little quickly. Like, don't get me wrong. I think he's gonna because he's in the next one for sure. So I think it's gonna be a little bit more nuanced. He's not gonna come off as the villain in the next one, but this one did a little quick. What were you gonna say, Scott?
No, I think also like, you know, some of Spike's decisions, you know, that he made here in the second half of the movie are definitely going to have an effect on his father and how he probably moves through the sequel. For me, it was completely jarring, unexpected. And I didn't realize there was, you know, once the scene is over in the credits roll, you're like, oh, okay, so we got another movie coming, right? Like that was the first thing I thought. But dude, that said, I was still on board with the insanity. I love the look. And like I said, man, the tracksuit, the chains, like, and just old boy with like just seeing, what is his name, man? The actual actor's name. He said such a year.
Fucking like Jamie some shit. That he was
like,
in Sinners.
That's one boy from Sinners. Again.
Ian Lake.
The guy the ringleader.
Yes.
Oh, I did not.
He's on fire right now. He's on fire. That's what I'm saying.
Right now. Like that and Eden Lake, like dude has been in the forefront of our.
He's in two of the best movies / horror movies of the year.
Yeah. Like that's why I was geeking out. I was like, bro is at it again. So like, yeah, that was so cool.
I didn't even catch it in Eden Lake that it was the same guy. So this guy's got one of those faces.
No, with them vilifying the dad, I wanted to say this is like a whole thing where it's like kids don't understand, like, you know, things aren't so black and white as you get older. There's a lot of shades of gray, you know. It's like I have a friend, his mom had MS, you know, and so it was a sad situation to see. So if you know MS, they deteriorate over years. She was married, he had a stepdad, and you know, it got to a point like she passed away, rest in peace, like 5 years ago, but it got to a point, he was grown, you know, but it got to a point where he realized, he kind of was talking to me one day and he said like, he's like, yeah, I think, you know, such and such has like a little girlfriend, but he's like, I was like, how you feel about it, man? Like, you know, I know that's not, you know, but he's like, I'm not mad at him because it's like humans have men have needs. And it's like, he takes care of my mom, you know, he makes sure she's taken care of at the end of the day. So it's a very great, I'm sure he wasn't happy about it, you know, but at the same time, he's like, yo, I'm a man, you know, I'm a human. I'm infallible, you know, I'm a person, I'm flawed. and he was applying it to the same to his stepdad. And at the end of the day, his stepdad was still handling his business and honoring his, taking care of his wife like he vowed in his marriage. So it's like that's how I kind of view the dad in this. Like he kind of knew his wife. It's like his wife was going to die eventually. He could have waited. It could have been a little classy about it, but it's like, I think as a child, Spike's, it's more black and white than, there's shades of gray as you get. So I never really viewed the dad, because it's like one of the best scenes, emotional scenes, is like when Spike confronts the dad about the situation, and he pulls a knife on him, and the dad's fist, he takes the knife from Spike, and his fist is like, he gives it back to Spike, but his fist is like shaking with fucking rage, and he like fucking hits you and leaves a hole in the wall on his way out. But I just thought that was such a beautiful scene, because it's like it showed the dad how frustrated the dad was, where it's like he wasn't mad at Spike. He knew he wasn't doing the best, but it's like he didn't have it in him to explain to Spike how it's not so black and white,
I think you made the point perfectly. I think because we're all adults and we're looking at the situation a lot differently than he is. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I get it. I totally get it. I would never do that to you, honey. You could get sick, you'll be fine. But I'd get it. I fucking get it. SoCal Daniel, son of a bitch, my brother. What up, man? Good to see you in here, man. Let us wrap this bitch up, man. Let's wrap this bitch up and rate this thing and get up out of here. Kick it off for us, man. You guys in the chat, your rating out of 5. What you think, Link? What you giving it?
It's hard not to be biased, but I will be a little bit critical just because there is a few glaring or flaws that it kind of took me out. I was like, really, Danny Boyle and Alex Garland? I'll give it a strong 4.75. This is you're not going to find many horror movies that can evoke emotion while actually maintaining a solid story. They're either going to be cheap. Most horror stories don't have any emotion going on or anything worthwhile in it sometimes. So this one didn't feel commercial. I said the commercial horror films. This is not a commercial horror film. The same way that it took 28 days later, it took people a few years to catch up. I think this will be the case for this one as well.
For some people, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, you can't deny the filmmaking. That's kind of like my standpoint. No matter what you thought of the story, the filmmaking was, you could just tell you're not in the hands of the guy that made 28 weeks later or a standard horror movie. This was like, it looked insane. It felt insane. Like it was so much like a more elevated, one might say. But 4.75 from the missing link. Where you at on a stoop?
I'm gonna go 4.5. I think it did so many things well. Like you said, it is a they did so many cool things with the filmmaking and the score and the cinematography. But yeah, just the story was a little bit disjointed. I think they could have done a little bit job at like giving more, I guess, spreading the weight out a little bit better. But that said, I still think buy the ticket, take the ride, man. This was an incredibly entertaining movie, and I thought such an inventive third chapter and a great way to kind of pave the road for the rest of the franchise moving forward. So I can't wait to see what they do. Like I went into this thinking this was it, thinking that we had this was going to be the send off for the franchise and this property, as it were. But like I'm really excited to see what these next two, and that kid. We didn't talk about him enough. I thought he did.
Good point.
Because it's Aaron Taylor Johnson's there in the first third of the movie, but that latter like not even second half, like the last 2/3 of the movie is all him. He's got to carry so much of that dramatic burden.
That's why I made the comment about the kids, the progressing in the films. Like Hannah was shit. The second kids are all right, but this one, Spike, bro, like you said, he carries it on his shoulder.
They got the right one.
Yeah.
And it's like going to be dope to see him kind of like, I hope he sticks with the role and like to see him kind of mature with it and grow with it. Cause I think it's definitely one of those, roles you can build a career on. So
yeah, I think that's gotta be why they filmed them right off back to back. So they can keep this kid the same age and really make it work. Good point, man. He was great. Alfie Williams and then Jodie Comer.
The wife.
Yeah, Jodie Comer, fucking
the mom.
Dude, yeah. It's like I wish she would have had more to work with, but she was great with every time she was on screen. She hasn't done much. I looked up her filmography, bro. Props to her, bro.
Oh,
like
she was in Free Guy. I wonder, was she one of the big
she
ones?
was the
Yeah, she was one of
the main
she
chick.
was the gaming chick.
Oh, I would love that movie.
Yeah.
She's
You
gonna
fucking baby killer. You fucking baby killer. I love when she says that for whatever reason. Oh, how about them laying in that fucking bed and it's so sweaty and they've got the thickest blanket on this woman that I've ever seen in my life. There was something about that bedroom is like, ugh. It's disgusting.
Yeah, you could just feel
I think she's
ick in there
sweat.
for sure. Yeah.
I'm right there with you, Stu. I'm gonna give it a 4.5. There's like I said, a couple. It's not as tightly written as I hoped it would be. There's a few too many coincidences, and I still think like I've watched it twice and I laughed both times that Ray Fiennes comes back with that fucking skull. I was like, get the fuck out of here. But I get it. The moment, like, you know what I mean? Cinematically it works, but then it's like that's fucking insane. That's how.
What was her manner of dying specifically? Did y'all pick up on? Like, did he hit her with Because I thought I heard another.
Oh, I don't know.
So like,
he hit her with a dart. Yes,
he hit her with a fire or some shit.
Yeah.
He probably hit her with like a more severe dart. You know what I mean? And then he had to have thrown her in the fire because they keep on flashing to the fire.
Yeah.
Which the way was
you're talking about like killing her. Like I think. It had to be a quick blow to the head, something. Maybe he's got like I don't know. Like he's got like a chisel. I have no clue. That's probably why
yeah. Hell yeah.
Hold still, I'm a doctor.
Oh. All right. 4.75 from the missing link, 4.5 from Stu and I. And this Sunday, join us 1:30 Central Standard Time for another couple episodes of Masters of Horror. I'll be with
John Landis, though?
Yeah, baby. John Landis and John Carpenter. These are probably two of the biggest names that did Masters of Horror, a couple of the biggest names. John Carpenter probably being the biggest one. And then his episode that he did is what a lot of people consider the best episode of the series. And a lot of people say it's one of the best things that he ever did. I've watched it once. I didn't love it, but I'm kind of dying to watch it. Watch it again and talk about it with Rocket Robbie and Fable and Eric from 9 Panel Grid this Sunday. So again, that's Sunday, 1:30 Central Time. And then next Thursday, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So we got the new one coming out in a couple of weeks. I was kicking around a couple ideas. And I was like, oh, I could do this in 2 weeks. That's right before the movie comes out. But this takes place on the 4th of July. So we'll be doing this on the 3rd of July. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Hell yeah.
Stoked about that. And then on Monday night, I'll be over on PCP. Pop Culture Philosophers for my pick. I got a pick for Crew's Choice this year, and I went with the best movie of Crew's Choice. What was that one? Bad Times with the El Royale, second best choice of Crew's Choice. Stand By Me, man. You can't go wrong with it. You can't beat it with a wiffle ball bat. One of my favorite movies of all time. Monday night on Pop Culture Philosophers. And then Robbie wanted me to throw this out to you folks. Action Fest is kicking off. It's going down on PCP and on One Collection Down, Fables channel. So it's gonna be a blast. So make sure you're checking that out over there. I had to cancel my Terminator franchise. I won't be on that one. I'm gonna be on vacation, but I will be on Fables channel for True Romance.
I don't know how y'all do those franchise review. That shit is crazy. Y'all be watching 7 movies for one review. That's crazy.
And usually we spend like 10-15 minutes per movie, so it is kind of wild.
That one's okay. Yeah.
It's fun though. It is fun though. And then The Anatomy. This is one of the best fucking issues of comic books ever.
Facts.
Stu was talking about it with Eric and Nick.
Yeah, dude, over on Dr. Doom's fan club, talking about Alan Moore's Swamp Thing takeover, retconning the character. Yeah, like one of the best comic book issues of all time.
For real.
Was that issue
21? Yeah,
21?
man.
What is that in Moore's run? Is that like the 3rd issue?
That's the second
issue.
Officially, yeah. I think he co-wrote the script with Homeboy for 20, and then 21, this is like all him. So
hell yeah.
Yeah.
So cool, man. I really do. It is like it's one of the best comic runs of all time. And that's one of my favorite issues. It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, that's like the kind of the origin story, right?
Yeah. They basically, so he takes, up to that point, Lynn Wein and Bernie Wrightson had Swamp Thing as a man who was, kind of this vegetative monster. This flips the whole script and makes it's a plant with the psyche of a man, and really establishes the green as a thing, and it really paves the way for Vertigo comics and so much greatness after the fact.
Hell yeah. Beautiful stuff. Some of the best art ever too. I love the art in that series. Lick, you're not doing Stand By Me? You son of a whore.
I'm there.
I thought I put the word in. I'm gonna see if Robbie will squeeze me in for Monday.
Nice. I hope Stu, you're there?
Yeah, I'm there, bro.
Good, man. Good.
I might not have any space.
Me and Stu, we got some of the bigger fellas in the fucking
no, because I think you said it was it'd be like 5 other people, including
I think he's got Taki on there too. So
yeah,
come through, bro. Drop down like Samson into that bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. So again, Masters of Horror on Sunday. I don't know what you did. I don't know. I do know. I do know. I do know what you did.
That's the sequel. That's the next one.
I have no fucking idea what you were doing last August. This is going to be the newest one coming out. So good show, man. Good times. I appreciate all you guys hanging out with us. We are going to get up out this bitch, and we will see you on Sunday for Masters of Horror.